loose parts collections at any grade. And the more students work with them, the more comfortable they become in representing their thinking using something other than a pen and paper. Angela Stockman is someone who has done a lot of work in this area and is who introduced me to this work. And so I'm going to share a little bit of her knowledge with you today, and as well offering some additional places that you can seek out more information. So loose parts can literally be anything. If you're not sure where to start, the dollar store is your friend. Anything can be loose parts: buttons, rocks, sticks. Invite students to bring loose parts from their own home or context to help stretch and strengthen your loose parts collections, because many of them may bring in loose parts that are significant to them and may extend the depth of their sharing because of that significance. Something as simple as a container of Play-Doh can be offered to students to get them to share and start building out their thinking. Lego is another great tool to have somewhere for your loose parts builds. And ultimately, what we're trying to do is have our students take the great, big, wonderful ideas that they can put together in something like a Lego build or a layout design and transfer that into text. Because for some students, the putting of things on paper has a permanence to it that they just cannot get their heads around. And so by allowing students to build out different parts of their story or their argument or their thinking is less pressure than offering or asking them to write it on paper. That's not to say we never ask them to write it on paper, but we offer them this as a space to start. So we're going to make sure that whatever we're asking of our students is to be mini, a small bite. So if we're looking at, say, story writing, writing a narrative, we're not going to have them build out all the parts of our narrative. Maybe we're just going to start with setting, and we're going to talk about setting around some different stories that we've read, and we're going to make sure everyone understands what setting is, and then we're going to ask students to create a setting using their loose parts and give them time to build and play, talking to their neighbors, sharing ideas. As this is going on, you are circulating around the room, or maybe you're at a horseshoe table and you're able to observe what they're doing. And you invite them to speak about and talk about what it is they've built. So maybe I have a small village here that happens to be on the ocean, and it's got a lush green forest around it. I assure you that students have a much more active imagination when it comes to using parts and how they're functioning. My brain is just not there. So once this happens and we've got some really great ideas, we encourage our students to start labeling their builds with these fancy thing called Post-it notes. And you get them to start jotting down the ideas that are really important or significant. So maybe I'm talking about that it's a village and that it's on the ocean and there's a jungle or a forest nearby. Now, you might have students who are unable to do that. You can do the recording for them. Another thing that you can do is have students take a photo of this once it's labeled or after it's labeled so that they don't forget it. We also have the technology in our hands most of the time with a cell phone to record the student speaking about their build so that they can reference it afterwards, particularly if there was a really great or juicy way that they described the jungle or the houses or the ocean. After we have worked with our students and we fleshed out some ideas that they're excited about, we can then scaffold or build up and transition into print. So you might go from a label to offering some sort of a fill in the blank sentence. And then you might transition that a little bit further to offer some sentence frames that they can replicate or use, mirror what you've written in their writing. And then you might spend some time looking at mentor texts or sample texts who have done some descriptions around setting, and then ask students to go back to what they've written and make some changes and revisions to their writing or to their build to help reflect those changes. Working with loose parts allows students to explore ideas in a non-threatening way and allows us to truly capture the thinking that is happening, because quite often what our students are able to come up with in their minds is not always reflected in the final pen to paper product. I encourage you to be brave and give this a try.